anywhere that I'm going to put eyeshadow, I'm going to cover, because this is going to prevent your shadow from creasing, and it will make it last all day.
I love
The
it.
one thing you don't want to be touching up is you're redoing your eyeshadow later.
No, I know that when I was younger, I was a dancer, and so of course my mother did my first makeup for my first ever dance recital, right? And of course the thought was that, when you go up on stage, you just put more makeup on.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that, about how when we do an interview look or an appearance look, that is going to have a particular way that makeup is applied and product is used and depth of color, pigment of color, type of color,
Right.
versus what we might take to stage, and that it may not necessarily just be packing on more pigment.
Right. A lot of people think like, oh, I'm going on stage, let me put on thicker foundation, or let me put my one bronzer on and put more of it.
Right.
And I don't think that's necessary. And that's not going to look good. It's not going to last either. It's going to make you feel cakey. It probably won't make you feel like yourself when you're on stage too. And what I like to do is, instead of adding more of the products you're already using, I like to layer things. So for stage, I might do a cream blush down first, which is going to feel really light, but add a nice pigment, and
Yeah.
then set it with a powder blush so you have more depth.
Yeah.
But it's not going to feel like you have a lot more product on. Maybe I'll use a bigger eyelash than I would for interview, but I'm not necessarily going to change the eyes and put on a ton more eye makeup. I might make the liner a little bit thicker or add a little bit darker of a shadow, but it's not going to be drastic. It's not going to be a big difference. It's more about how you apply the products that you're putting on, not necessarily layering them and doing more.
Okay, got it, got it. And I just wanted to, can we talk about tools for just a second? So,
Mhm.
I just want to make a plug for this. I know that when I first got started competing, I bought my first set of brushes,
Mhm.
and it was a huge investment. Like, it was expensive. And for a girl coming from a small town who'd only ever bought drugstore makeup and used, doe foot applicators, I was like, what am I even supposed to do with these brushes, right? So it was definitely a learning curve. I did go to
Mhm.
the MAC counter multiple times for tutorials, because in those days you couldn't just pop on YouTube and learn how to do stuff because it wasn't available. I'm dating myself here, but I just wanted to share that some of the brushes that I have, you can see there's a little sticker on here. These are from when I went to Miss America. I still have my brushes. If you take good care of your tools, and of course, I know you probably go through tools rapidly because of the number of faces that you're working on. But for me, for personal use, by taking good care of my brushes, and that means washing them consistently, washing them with the right kind of brush cleaner. I'll let you talk
Mhm.
about that. And then just storing them properly. I have mine in a brush roll, and I use them almost daily, and they're still the same brushes. And I'm just going to say I competed at Miss America in for Miss America 2002, and we're recording this video in 2024, and Miss America 2025 is right around the corner. So they have lasted a long, long time. But would you share a little bit about how to clean your tools, and then also why you would choose to use a brush?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are things that I like to use sponges for. There are things that I like to use brushes for, and we'll go through that. And you're going to want to take care of and clean all of the things. Sponges, they're usually not very expensive, so you can toss them and buy a new one when you think they're getting old. But brushes are an investment. I actually used to work at MAC. That was how I got started in makeup, and I taught women like yourself how to use their brushes and use their products. And how to take care of the things that they have so they last a long time, because they used to be such a huge investment for us. A Mac brush was like $50 in 2004,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They were expensive. The cool thing about now, there are so many companies out there that create different products, and there's always something new and something that's being advertised on TikTok or Instagram, and people go buy them, right? So there's way cheaper options now for girls. One of my favorite sets that I love is from Morphe, and it's the Morphe and Ariel line. and they are these kind of creamy colored brushes. I pulled most of them out so I can show you guys as I'm using them. And they're very inexpensive. I think you can get a whole set for $100
Okay.
comparative to us spending $50 per brush when we were buying them. Because
Yes.
I also have some of my old MAC brushes from 2002. So I worked there 2007 to,
And I'm not like some crazy old lady, right? But when you invest in something that's, that expensive, right? And you're young and it costs so much and you're like, oh my goodness, I'll
I
have to
know,
forever. And I just might.
right? And I might too. I mean, I have some, I'm looking at one right now. These were my favorite blush brushes back in the day. They're, getting a little sad, but this is go-to MAC that I loved. Some
Mhm.
of my original MAC shadow brushes I still love are getting a little ratty, but I still like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
And
you want to take care of them is important. And that's the second part of your question is how do we take care of stuff? How do we make it last?
yes.
I really like the Cinema Secrets brush cleanser. You can use this right before you want to use your brushes and they'll dry pretty quickly. So it's not like a deep cleanse. This is like a in between a deep cleanse. For me, in between clients, they
Mhm.
sanitize and take product out. So what I do here is I just spray a little bit of this on my brush and then I wipe it on a paper towel or a towel and I have like a brush towel that I bring with me to pageants and I just clean my brushes on that. And that sanitizes them between clients. I like this one. This is the lemon scent. It leaves like a nice smell on the brushes too, so it doesn't smell as chemically as some of the other ones. So that's my favorite to kind of travel with, wash brushes in between, keep them sanitized. And if you wanted to keep that in your kit, you could. I mentioned to you that I have some lists on Amazon of some of my favorite
Yes.
products. And I have my brush cleaner on there too, as well as like lighting and lashes and all sorts of stuff. So I will send that to you after we do this and you can share it with anybody that watches.
Be in the notes. Yes.
Awesome.
All right.
So
Let's
let's
you do
set this.
primer. Okay, let's do it. Show me
So
how.
we talked a little bit. There's a chance that this moved around. So what I usually do is just take my fingers and kind of come back through and make sure there's no lines because we don't want to set any
Yes.
creases in there.
Right.
Then I'm going to grab my favorite setting powder, whichever that is for you. Mine is Laura Mercier. This is the translucent loose ultra blur, so it gives a nice smooth appearance. What's yours?
Laura.
Awesome, perfect, love it. There's a few different shades in this too, so for girls that are different skin colors than me, there are other options.
Yes. Mine is also the translucent.
And
And
I just get that
black.
all over
Okay.
with a big fluffy brush because I don't want any creasing. And I love this ultra blur too because the shadows blend into it so nice. So now we've primed our canvas. We're going to call our eyes our canvas. My degree's in fine arts, and so this is the way that I express my art.
You know what? I have to say, the best makeup that I have ever had done in my whole life was by an artist
Mhm.
and also a pageant girl. And she knew how to put it on, but she also had the artistic flair. And I am not an artist. Which is why we're talking. And so makeup has always been a real challenge for me because I'm like, now how high? So I end up, with my eyes looking sad and droopy. And so, and there are definitely some tricks, right, to the trade that, even just doing this with the setting powder on the eyes. So I really appreciate that you do have that ability because you have that skill and that additional training in the arts. So you do have an eye for those kinds of things naturally and through your extended training. So I'm really excited to see kind of the little secrets that you might be able to help those of us who are not artistically inclined.
So let's start with choosing colors, and I will use my artistic eye to help you do that. What color
Awesome.
are your eyes? Are they blue or
Green.
green? Green.
Green.
Mine are
Mhm.
green as well,
Okay.
and we both have brown hair, so our color palette's going to be fairly similar. I'm obsessed with the Makeup by Mario products in general. I love his line. If there was one makeup line that I could just use forever, it probably would be that one right now. I go through, different favorites here and there, and I have, one product that I may like more than the other. But if I had to pick one line, it would probably be Mario. So the palette that I use a lot is the Master Mattes. This is the original one, and it has some really beautiful warm brown shades. One of the
Mhm.
things that I love about this palette, having green eyes, is I like to use warm shades of brown to make the green pop. For our friends with different eye colors, Mario came out with the Master Mattes, the Neutrals, which is a little bit more of a cool toned palette, which I
Mhm.
also love. It's got some grays and some cooler toned browns in there. I'm going to use the original one, the Master Mattes,
Okay.
and I'm going to first go in because we're going to create a appearance look, interview look. And I will also talk, like we talked about before, how to kind of turn it into more of a stage look too. I'm going to start with this one right up top, this nice light brown. And back in my Mac days, I was taught that a nice shade of brown that's a couple shades darker than your skin is your best friend color.
Okay.
And this means we will use our best friend color with almost every look that we do, right? Unless we're doing like a bright blue eyeshadow, then you might not put it in there. But any other kind of neutral look that we're doing, I would use my best friend. So I'm gonna take that same big fluffy brush. Yours was a little bit bigger than mine, so I wouldn't recommend using that one. But the one that I set my Laura Mercier with is so it's a nice big dome-shaped fluffy brush. And
Okay.
I'm going to pick up that product and I'm putting just a little bit right on the tip of this. And I want to bring this nice warm best friend shade all the way through my crease.
Okay.
This is just going to create a little bit of shape and give me a nice base to blend all my other colors out into. And when I'm doing that, I'm kind of going back and forth in a windshield wiper motion. For my girls that feel like they are heavy-handed with makeup and want to be less heavy-handed, maybe you make a mess when you try to do a smoky eye, hold your brush back here. It's going to give you a bigger
Oh,
touch.